Hello everyone, here to show you right here of talking about with extensions though, plugins and extensions. And what exactly are extensions and what exactly are plugins? Well, number one, it seems like it's really over the fact about, they're kind of like bookmarks, and most of us would know what a bookmark is, right? It's just to kind of make it a little easier, just like, anything, any websites that you're going to be going to, and let's just say with that bookmark that you're going to go ahead and be a key entering any source of website or any source of blog or something like that. And let's just say if it's to take care of a bill or something like that, but still, that with most extensions though, it all starts by as to what web browser that you're using just to be able to visit some of these websites. And so it sure seems that way. That could we also explain another way of how you want to call a plugin? It's another way of how you want to call it, like a router. And a router basically means that it takes you directly to the web page, without having to copy and paste, each and every time, and also key entering any websites or anything like URL links or anything. So a lot of times it sure seems in a way that's usually the case. And let's just say if I were to type in for a new tab right here, so it opens up this new tab right here, and it sure seems that way that whenever we're going to be looking up any news articles or anything like that, and half the time you want to know too that whenever it comes to understanding about whenever you do search a particular website, and let's just say that if you're trying to understand about what plugins are, and plugins and extensions, and so it's basically another way of stating to where that whenever you do set a certain default engine as to your main search browser, and it's another way of how do you want to call it, kind of like a bookmark. And if we all know exactly what I mean by bookmark, though, is to where if you were to be visiting any suggested site, and a lot of times it sure seems that way that's usually the case, is that any websites that there are and highly suggest for you, such as anything that is related to about your recent search or your websites that are really recommended for you to visit and recommended for you to read and all. But a lot of ways it sure seems that way that when we speak about plugins and extensions, though, that are we necessarily thinking about, to where, okay, yeah, well, plugins and extensions, that those are windows, and if you want to kind of call them like tabs, that they're like they're tabs, kind of like what we see here, to where that you can actually mark them the ones to visit later on, and a lot of times it seems like that to where that you want to go ahead and look at a plugin to where that any websites that you want to come back to at later on point of time, that you can go ahead and set a plugin for that. And it's another way of how do you want to call this, is toward to make sure that you won't have to go through the hassle of the trouble and hassle of entering into the search bar each and every time. And to me, though, that whenever we talk about for extensions, though, that you want to know too that maybe not everybody would like using them, just because it's going to be more confusing for what you're going to be searching for. So let's just say that if you're going to be going to a certain website, though, that there's going to be another pop-up window that's going to show up, one that you may not recognize. It could also be related to marketing. It could also maybe related to the news headlines or anything like that. And that's why it sure seems that way, that just to make it less confusing, that whenever you search for a certain website on the search bar right there, and it's like, whenever you go to type in the actual website, and a lot of times it sure seems that way, that you want to know too that why is it that these other windows are showing up on your window, and why these other windows are popping up on your screen there whenever you do not even search those keywords right there. So let's just say, let's just say if it is like any other your related search, the searches that you were doing from earlier, And but it sure seems that way that understanding about plugins and extensions. And so a lot of times it sure seems that way that yeah, whenever you if we were to be and I know like anybody would probably say too that one example that you could probably give like yeah, some of the software programs, and also like if it's going to be like yeah, through Adobe or something like that. So I can enter on here like for Adobe right here, and you can see right here it says that no results right here, but it sure seems that way that yeah, oh yeah, that's a tab right there. But if you talk about for Adobe right here, but so let me see here if I can show everybody here an example here, and I think yeah, set a new tab. I think yeah, if I just click on that and then search, I'll make yeah. So yeah, a lot of the search results though, but still that they're talking about right here, I can yeah, I can go ahead and use my portfolio too. Go ahead and just search that. I mean it's gonna bring up my portfolio, but still that it's like when we talk about with whenever it comes to tabs and search results though, that let's just say that if you were to type on there AAA or something like that, AAA insurance, and then maybe that there's going to be another window that's going to pop up, and it's going to give you these other options to where that yeah, please yeah, marketing. It could be a marketing or just any source of advertisement like that. So that's why it sure seems that way that when we speak about the extensions and plugins though, that a lot of times it sure seems that way that that if you're just trying to spend only 10 or 15 minutes, you just look up something or just to be able to review something, and a lot of times it's like all the other web browsers are going to probably say to where that yeah, well, were these extensions and plugins designed to at least get your get your attention, though that yeah, well, even though if you are there, even if you're on your phone looking up at this information right here, so like yeah, if there's like any source of sensor to where that they're able, that your smartphone is able to track your activity to where okay, if you're able to hold a smartphone in your hand, and then that there's a way of how to be able to censor to where okay, yeah, I'd like to get your attention and show you this and show you that, and so a lot of times it sure seems that way that when we speak about extensions though, a lot of times that I have right here, talk about for America's Best right here, and so anything that you were working on from previously, it's possible that there could be a link that had already expired. It could also be in regards to that something that you that requires you to open up a new window or a new tab, and so that's why it sure seems that way that that why is it that a lot of stuff seems to be most important whenever it comes to understanding about that whenever you're going to be searching the web, and let's just say that using the particular search engine, let's just say if it is Google or if it's Yahoo or if it's Firefox or whichever search engine, you want to know too that that what exactly is a plugin. And to me though, that sounds to me just a little bit like an or extensions is this it's basically it's like a router. And how many of us have really thought about that towards a router, to where just to save you time from having to each and every time type it in the website each and every time, that you can actually install this plugin that takes you directly to the website. You just gotta make sure it's added to your web browser. And so do we think too much of the time if that's really a useful tool, or for any reason at all, that yeah, that anything that you were working on, anything that you were looking at, and let's just say if it is something important, or maybe if it's something personal, and you want to know too that that why is it that that you would want to take time to understand what it is, and what it's for, But at the same time, no, it's like, yeah, well, really, that if you're trying to schedule an eye exam or something like that, or I'm like, yeah, America's Best right there. And so it's like, you got America's Best right there, and then also, yeah, your Bill, and yeah, the Roku. You just show everybody here that, about the Roku. And I really think, too, that whenever it comes to extensions, that plugins and extensions, that whenever it comes to learning the basics about what it's for and what's the purpose to why we need to know what it is and what it's for. And so in a lot of ways, I'm like, yeah, straight talk right there. And yeah, if you open up a new window, and then this is pretty much what you see right here. I'm like, yeah, news, and then but it sure seems that way, that whenever you're going to be on your device or on your phone, no, a lot of stuff is just going to pop up, and you want to know too that a lot of everybody else would probably say that those windows are going to pop up automatically just because. Of what reason? Maybe because you don't really have any sorts of security features set on your device to where there's going to be certain pop-ups that are going to be blocked. And and they have right here the Best Buy right here, and so yeah, a lot of this, and I know that if you recently visited that website directly from your email, it could also be in regards to taking a survey. It could also be in regards to reviewing, any sorts of shopping ticket order or something like that. But I just really think too that that do we really find them really too much annoying, especially that if you're trying to make the process a little bit quicker, to where if you're trying to go to a website, and let's just say if it's not either one of these, you're trying to visit this website, but then maybe two other pop-up windows are going to show up on your phone there, and you'll want to know too is to where if you do not recognize that device, if you don't recognize that window that's popping up, then chances are that it's possible that you have turned on that option there to where on your web search browser, to where you can go ahead and receive extensions. And so the way I think about, though, that when we talk about extensions, so it's another way of stating to where just to save you some time, to where instead of having to type in the name of the website all the time, each and every time, or just related websites, anything that's recommended to you. And I just really think that that's really what it is. That any web browsers that are recommended to you just because that you visited similar websites, and they were based on it. And yeah, marketing ads too. And so that's why it sure seems that way, that I think it's really important to kind of be kind of familiar and aware about what is it that you're looking at, and what that your ability to what you can do. And so that's why it sure seems that way, that that the things that our phones can do. But you want to know too that if you really want to go to that website, click on that browser and go to the website, then maybe you would key in the name of the website on the search bar. And so let's just say that just like turning the page on an actual book, that you would have that option, to where we would have that same exact option whenever it comes to plugins and extensions. When like if you're trying to look up something, that if anything, if all you really have to do is just to go to the next page, you don't have to worry about entering that in each and every time. And if you do enable extensions on your website, on the web browser, that you would come up to maybe two or three of these these windows here. He calls them the tabs. I guess they're called the tabs on the mobile phone, but still, that when we think about that, though, and at the time you want to know too, that you don't need to make it any more confusing than really what it is. But it's like whenever you're trying to look up something, then maybe two or three other tabs are going to open up at the same time, and that can really be annoying. So that's why it sure seems that way. That when we speak about looking stuff up though, and you'll want to know too that whenever it comes to extensions, that extensions are just another way of stating to where that yeah, well, really that there is a lot more that what you can do with that search browser rather than it just be yeah, well, really that each and every time that you visited that website that we came across a familiar website, if you're familiar with that. And so a lot of times it sure seems that way that yeah, that it's over the fact about that setting a search browser as your default browser. So despite about which one you use, if you use Chrome a lot, or if you do use Firefox or Mozilla, or any, or if it's going to be Edge, or if it's going to be maybe like yeah, that a few other web browsers that I know I'm familiar with, and but still that Internet Explorer, and I'm sure most of us have probably heard of Internet Explorer, but when we talk about surfing the web, that it sure seems that way. That yeah, that for the most part, that if you notice that it's working a lot faster, then more likely you would know that you are either using the updated version or that you're not using the same version. So really, what are the differences there between which one is the updated version and which one is not the same version? And if we want to put that into a scenario though, and you'll want to know too that well, really, up-to-date version pretty much means that you should recognize it, right? You should recognize it and be familiar with what you're looking at, right? Compared to using a different one, if you're going to be using a different version of the search of the web browser, that you may not recognize a lot of the options there. And so that's why it sure seems that way, that when we think about these different extensions and plugins, though, that if all you're really doing on the web browser, on the home page of the web browser, if anything, is to look up the weather. So let's just say that yeah, if you set that the home page right here, and let's just say that if you were just trying to look up the weather, or whichever you want to call it, but still that it's like you want to know too that why is it that whenever you're trying to look up something, that all these other articles and advertisements and everything is all popping up, and you want to know too that yeah, well, if a particular calculator can do the same thing, you would more likely not be seeing stuff like this. What you would actually be seeing are like what's called the math facts and equations, and maybe certain symbols and all. But still, that whenever it comes to understanding about what our devices do, and you want to know too that yeah, well, really that what you were really trying to do is you were checking your emails, and those emails are going to show you it. Yeah, shareable tabs. And like a lot of the times, it seems like that, to where there's a shareable link or tab attached to that email, then chances are you're going to be redirected to a window. And that window, of course, is going to bring up certain articles. And so a lot of times it sure seems that way, that whenever it comes to understanding about, is to where that, yeah, that, really, that it seems like to me it's just like turning the pages, and we may not realize it, but without no key or any access code or anything like that, we don't have to worry too much whenever it comes to plugins and extensions, because it's another way of stating to where that you have access to look at those articles. You now have access to, and so a lot of times it sure seems that way, that whenever it comes to plugins and extensions, that it's another way of stating to where that you have access to that and more. And so a lot of times it sure seems that way, that when we speak about plugins and extensions, that I can go and click right here, and I guess yeah, that's gonna sports, and social, email, and weather, and in free games. So a lot of times it sure seems that way that when we speak about exploring the web here, and you'll likely want to know too that all you really are doing right here, if anything, is checking up on the status about if it's a job application that you recently filled out, or if it's maybe training, or if it's maybe anything that's in regards to taking care of a bill or something like that, and then you wind up going back to the home page, and then all these other articles and publications are going to be popping up, and a lot of times everybody else would say too, if you've been there, to where that whenever pop-up articles come up, and you're one oh two that really that you didn't really order it, you didn't really search anything, but just still, whenever our devices are going to be just doing their own thing, and you know me, then I guess most devices are going to just do their own thing, and then you would see stuff like, what exactly is the device doing? Well, it's showing you a lot of these articles right here, and it's actually that there's a few articles and pop-ups, windows and all that, just popping up right here, and you're one oh two that you did not even search them. You did not even type in the keywords into the search bar. What you basically did was that you actually were, just all you did was just tap on the home page, and you went to your main web browser. And so a lot of times people say that, especially if you're going to be signed in, if you're going to be logged in to your to your account, then chances are that it's going to unlock a lot of these features, such as these articles and then resources and tabs and all that. So it sure seems that way that whenever you're going to be signed in, that's pretty much is what's going to go on, and so that's why it sure seems that way that each time when we do visit a certain web browser, and U102 that a web browser, and then all you were doing was that you were checking stuff out, and OneNote that OneNote right here, and I can show everybody here OneNote right here, but it sure seems that way that taking notes and all, but it sure seems that way that with all this stuff, but whenever it comes to plugins and extensions, though, that we wonder that whenever we first were introduced to a lot of this stuff, that the first thing that you were concentrating mainly is making sure that everything was working properly. And I'm sure that we probably say that we've all been there, to where you really are just making sure that everything is working properly and just checking things out. But a lot of times it sure seems that way that really that you're just checking things out, or you're just exploring everything. But another way of how you want to call whenever it comes to understanding what the plugins and extensions are, that look at that, to where like I mentioned before, I talk about the word only, because we all know that whenever you surf the internet, though, that we don't want to think about that the internet, to where the fact about the web browser is only for surfing up things by from your local library or something like that. So so if you were to set any sorts of restrictions on the World Wide Web, do you think, if anything, for security reasons, right? But if you were to set any sorts of restrictions on the World Wide Web for any reason at all, then maybe that you would think about it as toward it for your own personal stuff, if anything, but still. So it sure seems that way that when we speak about the World Wide Web here, that do you think if anything, is to where yeah, it's supposed to give you the ability to where what you can see and what you would like to learn about. And do you think that maybe, if anything, that's really what the World Wide Web was originally designed for, was to give you the ability to what you want to look up today, what you want to learn about, any educational resources, and now it's like you have a tour that you don't even have to worry about keying in any website to the search bar. You have these options here to where you can actually open up a new tab and actually add those you can actually bookmark websites, and actually that the web browser would need to recognize your activity, your attention and your activity, just for it to work, just for them to recognize, okay, what's recommended for you. And so that's why it sure seems that way, that a lot of times that whenever you're going to be surfing anything on the web, and let's just say that if you did not type in that search browser right there, and let's just say that, let's just say that if I were to type on here of CNN and see what, CNN.com, something like that, what's it gonna do? Well, it's just gonna tell me, since I more likely, just because there was no tab created, or say, I guess tabs are kind of like another way of stating to like a bookmark. But still, if I were to search that on here, CNN.com or Fox News. So if I were to look up that, and then so it's going to. So if you were to add that to a tab, or if anything, add that to an extension or something like that, or if you recently visited that website, and then it's going to recognize, and it seems like to me it's all about is to where it's going to recognize your activity from what you were looking up, and that's why it sure seems that way, that just I really don't really even know what all for any purpose at all about for plugins and extensions. But let's just say that if one of those reasons is so that way you won't have to enter in just to make it easier for you, that you can go ahead and go you can set the search tab to where if you're going to be coming back, and a lot of times it seems like to me that's really the whole purpose of it, is to where if you want to go back to that article at a later time, then you can do that just by following the tab that you have set on your web browser. And so a lot of times it sure seems that way, that if we were to save one of these links right here to our search browser, and you can go directly there just by following the tab that was created. And so a lot of times it sure seems that way, that when we think about that, to where that but still it's like I just really think too that whenever it comes to understanding about web browsers and everything, but I just really think that on average that whenever it comes to understanding about plugins and extensions, that you want to know too that the main purpose to those is toward think about that, toward that whenever it comes to understanding search engines, that you want to know too that that's not. Those are not the keywords that I entered. What I was trying to look up was, So let's just say that on the home page here, if you were to look up, money or something like that, money, or money near me or something like that. So if you were to look up anything, that instead of having to key that in each and every time, and then you can go ahead and add a plugin or extension, and you just to kind of make it easier, and so it sure seems that way, to just kind of make something easier, that there's going to be an extension available and there's going to be a plugin available. And but provided, set. But anyway, but that's the way I think about, that just understanding about the things that we read about on the news, though, and the things that we see on our phones. And I want to know too is that really the phones, our devices, are just going to do their own thing. And one of those things, of course, is going to maybe show you something that maybe that you don't really have any interest in looking at, or if anything, that just to kind of get your immediate attention or something like that. But the way I think about it too, though, that we're also talking about is to where that if something like that it were to be provided, do you think that maybe the job training should be advised as to where that well, if you need to set the security features to where block certain ads and articles, and especially if you're going to be at a personal, like if you're going to be on a shared monitored device, then you would want to go ahead and set the security features on there. But anyway, but that's the way I think about it. But just understanding about typical plugins and extensions. Now, what exactly are they? Well, they're another example of a bookmark. And so the way I think about it too, though, that if you just think that just to make it a lot easier, that instead of having to type in the keywords each and every time to a website, you can go ahead and check out the extensions to where that these pop-up windows they're just going to pop up automatically, and then so that's basically how it works, is to where that you now have that ability to where you can you now have more, you got further access to this, if you're signed in, if you're logged in to your account, and then also the work that that needs to be recognized, right? But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.